Hello, hello, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. If you are here, let me see you in the chat. Let us know where you are connecting from. Today is a very interesting topic. I know I say that all the time, but this one is really special. So make sure you are connected and confirm you can hear me, please, and see me. Just going to notify the others. Hello, please confirm you can hear and see me. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Let us know who is here before we get started. Okay. I hope you have invited somebody. I'll just going to put you can hear. Welcome, welcome. Today we're talking about the importance of knowing your child. Basically, observing your child, knowing your child, and following your child, knowing who you have as a child or who you have as children. I'm just going to give one more minute. Okay. If you're here, let's know where you're connecting from. I hope you were at the last session as well, where we talked about understanding your left-handed child, and you started implementing some things. One of the feedback we got was even for the adults, the parents themselves who are also left-handed. That is a very important session. If you missed it, make sure you go back. Just check our live sessions, and you will see that one. Once I have one confirmation that you can hear me, then we go ahead. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So we are going to get started. My name is Nkem Sinachi Ago, and I'm the founder of the Montessori Home Education Academy. We run the annual Montessori Home Education program, which is for parents of 0 to 6-year-olds. So if you have a child in that age range, make sure you sign up. We kickstart the program in January, and it runs for a whole 12 months. So you have something to teach your child. Very good. Thank you for confirming. Fisayo. Thank you for joining us also. So we run the program every year for 12 months. You have something every month to teach your child, following the Montessori curriculum, following the Montessori approach, which we know is very suitable for children because it has a way of appealing to whichever child that you have. You just have to tailor it accordingly. The details are in the video description if you want to learn more. And if you haven't joined our WhatsApp community, which is free, make sure you do that. There's also a link in the video description. All right. So the importance of knowing your child. I think the title we have is Observing Your Child, Knowing Your Child, and Following Your Child. So we're going to get started with a little bit of a story. Now, I was just thinking the other day, and I thought this was the best way to start this conversation. And it's more like, imagine you go to, let's say you go to a farmer's market or you go to a store, and you're just given some mysterious seeds, for planting. You have a couple of seeds, maybe 3, 4, depending on the number. Just picture that. And you're told, oh, plant these seeds, and get the benefits that come from planting those seeds, which can be whether it's fruits or vegetables or whatever. And you receive it for free, So your work is just to plant the seeds. Now, there are 2 options you could follow when you get that kind of, when you get a gift or gifts like that. You can choose to just take the seeds immediately and say, oh, what do seeds need to grow? They need air, they need water, and they need soil, right? And if that is the case, then you just go put it in the ground, make sure it's getting fresh air, maybe outside or inside near the window. You make sure it has sunlight, which is needed for photosynthesis. And what else? Water. You make sure you're watering it every day. So that is one option you can follow. Another option, now I remember these are different seeds. It's not like it's all one type of seed. Another option you can follow is that you can actually check the kind of seed. Okay, welcome. Before I continue, welcome to those who are joining us. Put in the comments where you are joining from. Confirm you can hear and see me. I was just starting off the story for those joining about how, imagine yourself getting a couple of free seeds from somebody, maybe in a farmer's market or in a store, and it's just given to you as a gift or as gifts. Do with it as you will, get the benefits that come from it, and basically, foster those seeds or nurture those seeds. So I was saying that the first option you can have is knowing that what seeds need to grow. Put in the comments what seeds need to grow, what a plant needs to grow. I'm sure most of us will say, air, water, and soil, or air, water, and food, and sunlight as well. Of course, sunlight is needed. Now you can just go ahead and plant those seeds and say, oh, you're waiting to see which mysterious seeds these are, what they are going to turn out to be. You have done your work as the farmer, as the planter, and you're watching to see what happens. And the second option you can try to find out is, okay, you look at the seed and you try to look, is this an orange seed? Is this an apple seed? Is this, what kind of seed is it, right? Because why are you thinking about what kind of seed it is? Because depending on the kind of seed it is, it might determine where you want to plant the seed, how much water you want to put. Because as much as plants need water, some don't need too much water, some need a little. Too much water can actually drown, in quotes, some plants, while a lot is needed for some. There are some you should water once a week. There are some you water twice a day. There are some you should water morning, evening, and all sorts of things. So the second option now is the person that is trying to actually find out what seeds they have been given and where to plant them, how to plant them, what the seeds, depending even whether you're going to use the seeds as decoration or whether you're going to use the seeds for food, because that will even determine which part of your house you're going to put it. Are you going to plant it indoors or outdoors? We have flower pots. If the seed is a flower and you go plant it in the backyard or plant it in the front, or just plant it somewhere thinking it's vegetables, you're not going to get the benefits as much as if you had known it was a flower, right? So whether you plant it front yard, backyard, side yard, indoors, in your kitchen, if it's a herb, you might want to plant it in your kitchen and all that. So the second person goes for that second option of not just saying that, oh, plants need soil, water, sunlight, and air. The second person tries to find out what seed they have. Good day, Dr. Joy. Thank you for joining us. So the second person tries to find out what seed they have and then how best to go about it. Let me know in the comments which option you think is actually a better approach. Is it the first one, just going ahead and planting the seeds because there's no time to lose? Maybe you can say, oh, depending on your location, you might say winter is coming, you need to quickly plant the seeds so that they can grow and bear fruits quickly. So you just go put the seed in the soil and start watering. Or you might say, oh, let me find out the seed. Let me know which option you would choose, option 1 or option 2. I'll just give a minute for that quick poll. Are you going to be the quick planter to be able to reap quick results, or are you going to start spending some time finding out which seed it is, what you're going to do with the seed, whether you plant it in the front, back, and so on? So let us see quickly. Let me know. Okay, now. Okay, Dr. Joy is going to plant now. Okay, who else? Let me know who else is going to plant their seed. What are you going to do first? Will you go ahead, make sure it has air, light, water, and food, or are you going to start studying the seed first to know? Because maybe whether there's time or no time. You already have a job. Okay, that's good. People are not playing. They need to reap the results now. Okay. Fisaya, are you there? Let me know what you're going to do with the seeds you have been received. Okay. So I guess that may have been a trick question. So we're going to dissect this seed analogy today. Okay, Fisaya is going to study the seed. Interesting. There are benefits of whichever one, right? But we're going to, this thoughts, just came, and I thought it was a wonderful and perfect analogy for what we do, what the whole Montessori thing is all about, what children are all about. Let's gradually begin to substitute the whole idea of seeds as children. I know a lot of people we have so many places where we refer to seed, sowing a seed. Sometimes sowing a seed means investing in something. Sometimes sowing a seed means, getting ready to have children. Sowing a seed can be so many things, right? So a seed is such a perfect example. If you just replace and say, okay, replace the seed with a child, we're going to start seeing some angles that I might be coming from today that will really be very interesting, which is why I said nobody should miss this session. Make sure, please, you have invited somebody, share the link right away so that they can join us live. And if not, let them catch a replay. Very important. So I like to use the 5 W's and 1 H when I want to break down something to make it easy to understand and to really make sure I cover all the different aspects. So we're going to be looking at those 5 W's and 1 H with respect to these seeds that we want to plant, and also with respect to children. Of course, Montessori, we are focused here 0 to 6. Montessori goes beyond 0 to 6-year-olds, but my focus right now is 0 to 6-year-olds. So we're going to be looking at that. Now, I'll start with the who, for example. So if we say who, so 5 W's, 1 H, if you joined our session where we looked at what is Montessori, you have the W's as who, what, why, where, when, of any topic you're looking at. Then H is how. So 5 W's, 1 H. So we're going to be using that method to look at the idea, the concept of these seeds for planting, and also the concept of children for raising the children. Thank you for confirming. Thank you for confirming that you can hear me. I see IBK. I don't know if it's Ibukun. I don't want to guess, but thank you very much for confirming you can hear me. Okay, so we start with the first W. Now, the first W is who. So you can say who for a seed. If you're looking at a seed, the question you might be asking is, who is this seed? So if it's a child, you say, who is this child? But if it's a seed, you can say, what is, which seed is this? Who is the seed? What's the name of the seed? Is it an apple seed? Is it an orange seed? Is it a flower? Is it a vegetable? Is it even grass? Because we also have grass seeds, right? Depending on where you are, you might have had to buy grass seeds to plant on your lawn. So if, for example, you have a grass seed and you go and plant it in a flower pot, for instance, you realize that even though the thing may start growing quickly, it might now be too late to transfer it to where it should have actually been because we didn't find out what kind of seed it was. If the seeds you received, if you received 5 seeds, for instance, one of them was beans, one of them was rice. Of course, bean seed will be easy to tell that this is bean, but some other ones may not be so easy. If it was bean seed you received and then you planted it on the lawn thinking it was grass or flower, you know that people are going to trample upon it and it's not going to survive, right? So knowing who the seed is as a child is very key. So with the topic we said, observing your child, knowing your child, and following your child. So in the case of a seed, observing the seed, if you look at it, you can say, oh, this is a bean seed. I'll plant it maybe in a pot first or in a jar first, then I'll transplant it to a garden bed and so on. If you look at it, you see it's an apple seed. Apple seeds grow into trees. So you won't just plant it in a place that it will get choked up very quickly, right? So knowing who the seed is, knowing who the child is, if you compare it to a child, whether if it's a boy that you have or if it's a girl that you have, that's the difference. Of course, we are all human beings first, but the way boys are is different from the way girls are. So that's already the first one. By observation, of course, you detect that one at the point of delivery. Knowing the gifts that the child has, the temperaments, the personality, their love languages, their learning style, even the family they are born into, right? Sometimes we may even have, where a situation where a child is adopted. If a child is adopted and you just go ahead and say, oh, let's say the person is from a different country altogether, different culture, the person was born into a different culture, but you adopt that child. As much as you're making the child your own, you're taking them as your own, you know that you cannot completely ignore where the child is coming from or the genes that they may have had. Because if you don't even try to find out anything about the child you have adopted and just say, oh, I'm going to make you as mine now, and you're just going to start raising that child that way, you're going to be coming across surprises along the way. So in fact, that's a very good example of a surprise child, right? An adopted child, where you cannot easily say, oh, like it's like this, it's like the father, it's like the mother. You have to dig a little deep to get some background, because that is very key to even know how the child will thrive, even the kind of hair they are going to have, and so on. So knowing which seed that you have, knowing who the child is that you have is very, very key. Now, some of the questions you can ask about the child. Again, we're talking about seed and child. We are comparing them. Who is this child? What fruit and good tidings do they have? What are they going to grow up to be? It's not about being a doctor or an engineer. And it's not only about growing up into the adult age, which there's a quote that says we should stop asking children what they want to be when they grow up, but what do they want to do right now? Because even at that age, even as small as they are, there's a whole path, there's a whole process to becoming whatever they want to be. So you are trying to play that detective work to even know who it is. And looking at the example of a seed again, I've already said with the apple example, an apple grows into a tree. So you will not plant an apple in a place where it's going to get choked up and then the tree cannot even sprout. You will also not plant a bean seed on the lawn where it's going to get trampled on, because you know you're trying to grow food, right? So who is very, very key. So that's the first W. Now we're going to the second W, which is when. So when is all about timing. Now imagine you have received a seed, or again, I said a couple of seeds, and maybe depending on your location, you're rushing. Oh, this is winter is coming. I need to plant it quickly so that I can reap the harvest. And then you rush and plant it, and you find out that, oh, this is something that should have been planted maybe 2 months later or 3 months later, and you have rushed to plant it, and the thing just dies off during the winter. Or maybe you would have planted it indoors or outdoors. You didn't remember to check the timing because you were in a hurry. That seed will not survive in your hands, right? It wouldn't thrive. Even if it survives, it might grow, it might sprout, it might have one or two things here and there. But is it going to thrive? So when is very key for a seed. There's no right. Just an analogy to help us to get thinking, because the seeds are a very good example of children. So when you talk about when, we talk about the seasons, right? Some seeds are better planted in spring, some are better planted in fall, and that's also how they get harvested. Like I know apples, for example, we have apples that are ripe, ready during the summer. There are some that are ready during the fall, all different seasons. Now, that is the example of seeds, right? That when you come to children, how do you now compare the when of children? So the seasons of children, I'll say, is sensitive periods. Now, if you've been following us, you're already familiar with sensitive periods. If not, just check out our Medium blog. You will see on our website you see links for all that. But sensitive periods are more like the seasons in a child's life when they are very interested in a particular thing. So if a child is very interested, typically interested in reading, let's say from three to 5, and then you don't teach them how to read, or you don't teach them some basics of reading within that age range, and then all of a sudden by 7, 8, 9, you're saying, oh, this child is not reading well, come and start doing this, come and start doing that. That's a window of opportunity that has passed by. It does not mean they cannot learn how to read, don't get me wrong. But there is a time when it is like a prime time. They are so ripe and ready to pick that reading very easily, faster than when they are at a different age. But because you didn't know that this was their season, this was the season of this, the season of that, you would miss it. Now, for example, in our Montessori medication program, one of the things we cover in the early months is sensitive periods and a lot of Montessori principles. Now, why is this important? There are so many sensitive periods. There are some that are more commonly known than others. So, for example, there's a sensitive period for reading. Reading, I think, is 3 to 5 years. Writing is 3 to 4 years. So pay attention to this. 3 to 4 years, which means you have a shorter window to when the child is primed for writing. All this time they are trying to color, they are scribbling, and maybe we're telling them, stop writing here, stop coloring there, stop doing this, stop doing that. Then when that window passes, we start chasing them around. Sit down and practice your writing. So you see why that season is very key. And we might even focus on reading before writing because we're in a hurry. Oh, I want them to start reading like their mates or start doing this like their mates. Meanwhile, that pincer grasp, those fine motor skills they need, starts earlier than even reading. So if you are not aware of some of these things, you might miss it. Now, so reading is one of them. We also have sensitive periods for language. The best time to pick language, of course, if you've been following even our videos, you know that 0 to 6 is such a prime time. But even 0 to 1, if you have a baby, just know that 0 to 1 years, 0 to 1 year is a very key time for picking language, where you can introduce as many as you want, and they're going to be taking statistics as it is of how different languages sound. So even if they're not learning everything, they're just having that record that, okay, this is how this kind of language sounds. This is how they sound. They start having small data banks here and there, or databases in their brain, storing different languages, as many as you want, really, as many as you have available to expose them to. And then from 1 year to 2, it's of course it begins, but 0 to 7 months, I think, is the peak. So that's why speaking your language to your child as they are born, it's not something you wait and then you now start telling them, oh, you're not pronouncing this well, you're not using the right tone, the right accent. You're tackling them when we missed what we should have done, right? So 0 to 1 is very key. Then 1 to 3 is still another very good window, but then 3 all the way from 0 to 6 is a very good time to introduce all the languages you're thinking of introducing to your child. And then the good thing is that once they know more than one language, it's easy for them to add on. Once they know up to two, it's easy for them to add on multiple languages, right? So sensitive period for languages. There's also sensitive period for mathematics, which means introducing them to those mathematical concepts. And the funny thing is that a lot of these sensitive periods are from 0 to 6 years. But most of the time we find ourselves saying, oh, we're going to put them in the best primary school or elementary school. And then we are forgetting about which daycare they are going to, which preschool they are going to, which kindergarten they are going to. That is the foundation. And if they're at home with you, that is even more beneficial because now you know these things, you know what to do with them, when to do it with them. So that is why, for the program that we do is very important and very key. And when I learned about the Montessori approach, really, I learned it when my our first daughter was around 3 months, and I was just amazed. I said every parent needs to know this. Why did I say that? Because of how time sensitive it is, that 0 to 6 window. If you understand how it works, you realize that university is somewhat a joke because this foundation is the most important. That 0 to 6 years is very, very key. Knowing when to do what are the sensitive periods. Now, the thing also is that apart from knowing, oh, sensitive period, okay, this is when they should do math, or this is when they can do maths the easiest, this is when they can do language the easiest. There are some other sensitive periods that they are not even written down. Like during my training, they'll tell you, okay, yes, we have this, but more importantly, you want to observe your child to be able to detect a sensitive period going on. What is that thing that you see and you say, oh, this is a sensitive period for so and so. So I need to start introducing them to these kind of toys, these kind of activities, because it's for a short time. It doesn't last forever. That thing that you see them so eagerly doing, the next week they've lost interest. And that's a window that has passed. Sometimes it comes back, sometimes it doesn't. So when is very key. Going back to the seasons, planting the season is very key. When you plant, and then when you harvest. So that is the when. So we're on the second W. Now we're going to be going to the third W, which is where. So where, let's go back to the seed analogy. You have many seeds. And I think this one happened to me when I was still trying to get into my whole planting gig. I got an aloe vera plant. So I got an aloe vera plant and I was excited. Oh, maybe I'm going to start using this for my hair. And I think I put it was, to me, it was an indoor plant, right? And then I just put it in a room. I put it in a room because I just had indoor plant. I didn't even do so much research. It was staying on a bookshelf. I think it was also part of my Montessori when I was still learning all about it. And they said, oh, you need natural things in your house. You need plants for children to be in touch with nature. So I got an indoor plant, got aloe vera, put it there in the shelf in the playroom. I was happy, right? But I was watering it, but I was pouring water and the thing wasn't really growing. I think there was even a snake plant or so that looks like aloe vera too. It also grows in an interesting way. And I was just watching. I think it was just, in fact, the leaves started reducing. I completely forgot about sunlight for, I don't know how I thought the plant was going to grow inside the room. But it was near the window, kind of, but not that near. And then I was pouring a lot of water for me to now later realize that, okay, these are, I think they are called, is it cactus plants or dry? Is it hardy plants or woody? There's something they call them anyways. But basically, you don't need to water them every day. And who would think that sometimes if you're used to just planting regular planting, you say, oh, water the plants every day, it needs to grow. Meanwhile, there are some, even the type of soil they need, you need the one that can retain water. There are some that need soil that does not retain water. Even the flower pots, you have some that have, maybe they are closed up with very little holes. You have some other ones that have a tray on that. All these things are for a purpose. But if you don't even know the plants that you have, if you don't know the seed that you have, you will just be doing, and it's not working. So one day I now went to visit a friend, and we saw their aloe vera. I said, what did you do today? Why is your own growing? My own keeps dying off, And the person just said, oh, well, we just water it once a week, and then we put it near the window. I just said window. Oh my goodness. I completely forgot sunlight. I just saw indoor plant and I started running around, put it inside the room. It's so funny to even admit this, but I realized I wasn't giving it sunlight, and then I was watering it too much. Now a different one, I think it was tomato or one of those not tomato, maybe another vegetable. So I said, oh, sunlight, and I carried it outdoors, put it right in the middle of the sunlight to receive everything, was watering it. I now later checked the label for the plant or for the seed, and they said, oh, you need to position it under the shade. I'm like, what is happening? I thought plants is just sunlight, water, soil, and air, right? So you see that even some things we think is just, let's say for example, if you now bring this to the point of a child, we're talking about where, right? Where to plant a seed. Are you planting it indoors, outdoors? If it's indoors, of course, by the window. If it's outdoors, outdoors is not enough. Sometimes you need outdoors under the shade. Sometimes you need outdoors beside, beside the shade and all that. Directly under the sun. You need some with partial sunlight and so on. Now, for a child, trying to know the where. So this is the third W. Where? Where do you plant them? Where is the best place for a child to thrive? You're going to be looking at their environment. What environment would they thrive best in? What do you keep in their environment? What do you take away? What do you change? Different children need different things, right? So even if they are all in the same room, the setup can be different. If there are some children that thrive, in crowd. There are some that need their own space once in a while. Of course, it's good for them to be able to learn to socialize. But the truth is, socialization is not even so key for 0 to 3. Most of the time, they are playing from side by side. It's good they are seeing other children, but they are still finding who they are, right? Then from 3 to 6, it begins to change. Of course, we're going to be learning about the different planes. It's called planes of development, which is addressed in the Montessori curriculum. What happens from 0 to 3, what happens from 3 to 6, 6 to 9, 9 to 12. So again, these are some key things that I feel every parent should know, even if your child is not going to a Montessori school, just having some of this, it's just like small bits of information here and there. Like I learned about the aloe vera and how not every plant needs to be watered every day. And how even, and with the other plant, not every plant needs sunlight morning till night, right? I mean, sun doesn't shine morning till night, but not every plant needs sunlight all the time or direct sunlight. So with the child, what environment are they going to thrive in? We talk about the prepared environment and the prepared adult. We have a session on that. Just check our live sessions. We talked about it in detail and how important it is to prepare the child's environment. So when you know the child that you have or the children that you have, you're going to know that, for instance, if I'm setting up, even for our 2 daughters, for instance, when I'm setting up activities for them, I know that they are in different age groups for one, but I also know that their interests are different. So if you're in the category of maybe you just have one big toy box and you say, oh yeah, get busy, just play, you put the toy cars in the box, you put the puzzles in the box, you put Play-Doh in the box, everything in one box. Just go and play and have fun. When you finish, put it all back in that box. There is already a problem with that. So you want to make sure you check out our article on prepared environment, check out our video. I'll try to post it as a comment after the session. But the environment that every child needs to thrive varies. So you can't just say, I'm giving them food, I'm giving them clothing, I'm giving them shelter. They should just be great and come and make me proud later on. So knowing about the prepared environment is something that we also address in the Montessori Home Education Program. But in the meantime, of course, you can start off with our articles and with the videos that we have to learn some more about it. But if you're registered, don't worry, that is fully covered. And the good thing is that we don't just look at it one-off, we look at it throughout the year and we check, for example, if you're trying to introduce your child to mathematics, to learning a language, how can you make the environment work for you? The environment is such a big teacher. To be honest, there are some things that I don't bring out a separate time to teach my children. I just check, oh, okay, looks like they're interested in this. I just put it beside their bed or position it somewhere. But knowing what to position, where to position, and when is what that the parent now has as an advantage when you have these basic skills and knowledge. So we've covered the 3 W's so far. We're looking at 5 W's and 1 H. So we're still going. I hope you're with me. Let me know. Make sure that you can still hear and see me and that you are following. What is resounding with you so far? Put it in the chat. Make sure you invite somebody if you're here. Don't be here alone. Let me know in the chat what you have heard that is you're already thinking about how you can implement or how it applies to you or to your child or to your children. So we continue. We're looking at the next W. The next W is what? So what in terms of a seed, in terms of a plant, is what support does the plant need to grow? So you know that, for instance, if you're going to plant you have received these mysterious seeds, right? You didn't know what type of seeds they were, but then because you're trying to now study the seed, you're getting more details. So if you know that, using the example of tomatoes, because we have tomatoes that we planted, you know that tomatoes need support, right? They need to be planted within a cage or within this, with sticks, so that when they start climbing and bearing fruits, they will not just collapse on the floor, because the tomatoes can be really heavy. But if you did not know that they were tomatoes and then you thought it was something else that just grows on the floor or doesn't grow too high, Then it's when the fruit starts coming out, you say, oh, this is a tomato plant. And then you start trying to put the cage in the middle. Before you know it, you're damaging the branches, you're damaging the plant itself. Now, picture a child. Assuming a child was supposed to grow up in a particular way or thrive in a particular way based on who they are as a person and what you would have learned about them before, even as you're raising them, and even before having children, right? But of course, we start from where we are. Now, imagine that you didn't learn about your child, you're just doing, pushing, saying, oh, this is what other children are doing at this age, go and do your own. And then midway, you now realize that, this is even what this child is all about. I should have done this, I should have done that. And you start trying to patch up, right? It's like trying to patch up with tomatoes. When you like the first time I did it, and I was now trying to, I had, oh, it now needs a cage. I started trying to put a cage when the plant was already grown. Before you know it, the branches are just breaking, you're losing fruits, you're losing benefits. But at all, right? It's still better to plant it, to still put that cage when you learn about it. So that's why now we have children, those of us that have children that are maybe they're already grown or they're already past a certain age, it does not mean you cannot start taking action. You start taking action from wherever you are and whenever you find out, right? But just know that it may not be as easy as when maybe the sensitive period was, and so on. So like putting the cage and maybe some branches are breaking, you're trying to pass it through. But eventually, when you set up that structure in place, which is where the tomato plant is going to grow well, then you will now see the fruits coming out and settling in. The fruits, most of the time, of course, one plant can produce so many tomatoes. So it's not as if you lost the first set of fruits, then you will not get anything again, except the plant has already reached end of life, which of course our children still have. They're still starting off. So that is not the case, right? If you have vegetables that they are or creeping plants, you want to make sure you make provision for where that plant will be creeping along, right? If you don't make that provision and then you now see it on the floor and it gets trampled up, you could lose that plant. So that is why knowing the child, if we compare that with the child, you're going to say, what preparation does the adult need to support the child, right? So, okay, the child is this way. You've learned about who the child is, what are their seasons of life, what are their sensitive periods, what stage are they in per time, and then what environment would they thrive in. So you're going to now look at, okay, what do I need to know as an adult to help this child? Because we are all different. We have different personalities, different temperaments, we have different qualities, different gifts, right? There are some things we wanted to do as little, and then sometimes we now start trying to achieve those same goals with our children. That is not a good approach, because except the child is exactly you, or you can see similar things and you can say, oh, this child, let's say the left-handed example, if I'm left-handed and I have a left-handed child, with this as a left-handed adult, I'm going to help my child not go through the same thing. That's a different case. But if you're just trying to say, oh, I didn't do this when I was little, I want my child to do it, and then you're just pushing, pushing, pushing without knowing who the child is, you will not be prepared. But knowing how to prepare what support a child needs is like knowing what support a plant or a fruit or a seed would need when they are growing. And you put it in place on time. That timeliness is very key, because it will determine how easy it is for the child to just be thriving and flourishing and doing well in their own space, compared to when you are trying to benchmark them against another child with no other basis, without yeah, thank you very much, Koso. When you're trying to just benchmark them against another child, or you just hear something, you hear that, oh, people are coding now, my child, come and code. People are doing puzzles, you're just pushing, 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 no background and anything. So that's why knowledge is so key. So again, back to the left-handed example. So like when I found out our second daughter, I found out for quite a while, because she started her own very early, and I found out that she was left-handed. I didn't even realize how much I needed to support her with certain things, because some things you just take for granted. But then ever since I had that session with you last week, I've even been seeing more things, right? So I'm right-handed, and she is left-handed. So how she's holding a pen, sometimes I even completely forget. I want to give her something. I'm putting it in her right hand. She's just pushing my hand away. The next thing, if I drop it, she picks it with her left. I'll say, oh, sorry, I completely forgot, right? So what preparation does the adult need? If I myself do not prepare to learn more about left-handedness and how to support that child, then it's going to be difficult, right? For example, when we are reading books, now she might, I found out that she was tearing a lot of books. Tearing is not like she would just carry it and rip it, but then the way she would just turn the page, it would just tear, until I now realized that the way books are even written and designed for turning is more of a right-handed activity than a left-handed activity. I'll show us an example. So if you have a book like this, the right-handed person will typically, come here, turn to the next page, you turn it from this side, right? You turn. But the left-handed person, their hand is most likely positioned here. So they are turning it from here. So this was how my daughter kept turning. And of course, the moment she picks it here, it will just tear. I'll say, you don't turn the page from here, you bring your hand here. And then it didn't even occur to me until I think it was last week or two. And I realized that, wait, she's turning it here because this is where her hand, the left hand, is going to the most, right? But the right-handed person will just naturally come here and turn. It's only if you're trying to go backwards that your left hand will be closer, but you will not use your left, right? So something as small as that, and maybe if you're someone that maybe you're not even upset, you're saying, why are you always tearing your books? But if you didn't realize that she was turning it that way because she's left-handed, then you won't even, how can you even help, right? So knowing your child is so key. And it will not, and it's not just knowing, what do you do with it? You now have to find a way to prepare yourself to help the child that you have. Because even among 1, 2 children, 3 children, 4 children, they all need different things, right? Even twins, as much as they are similar, they still have differences that you need to pay attention to. And then when you find out, you have to prepare yourself as the adult. As you're learning about them, you're also teaching yourself, right? So I started learning more about left-handedness and so on. And of course, it has been very eye-opening, like with the scissors example, that one was I was really passionate about it because I thought I had given her a left-handed scissors. Meanwhile, it was just marketed as left hand, but it wasn't actually the right left-handed scissors, right? So I had to start preparing myself to help a left-handed child, right? And something that like left hand is not even seen as too much of a big deal. They'll say, oh, let them just write with the hand that is suitable to them. But when you know some things that they would naturally struggle with, like screwing something, most of the time when we screw, to tighten, you tighten it in the clockwise direction. To loosen, you turn it anti-clockwise. But the default way for a left-handed person to turn something is anti-clockwise, which means if they're trying to loosen, they'll be tightening it. And you say, no, it's this way, right? But even just being aware that this is how it works. For something as small, it's not so small being left-handed, but it can just be seen as negligent, right? It's just the hand you're using to do something, but it affects so many other aspects. So the child that you have, boy, girl, whether they are sanguines, whether they are melancholy, whether their learning style is visual, whether it's audio, whether they are the kind of gifts they have, what are their interests, right? Knowing the child, observing them. There are so many, you can look at personality. There are so many aspects of knowing somebody that it's just limitless, right? So that's why we have the observation journal that we use in the program, right? You look at the child sometimes, just sit for 5-10 minutes watching them, watch what they are doing, watch which hand they are using to work, watch the kind of activities they tend to pick up by themselves without right? That would, and how can you help them, right? So this is where prepared adult comes in again. That already, because when the adult knows what they need to support the child, then you can bring them to bear the fruit according to the creator's master plan. The person that has created them, which is God, will be able to show you that this is the child. You bring out what they have inside them. You're not putting things into them. You're calling out what they already have within them as a child, right? And another example, I remember a video that had shared. Someone shared the artwork that his child did, and he asked the daughter, oh, what did you do? And she started explaining, oh, this is a plant, this is a fruit, this was the road which was passing, and so on. And he now said he realized that you need to ask the creator of something what they had in mind for that thing. Because if you look at it yourself, you might say it's a butterfly, and they'll say, no, this was not what they meant it to be, right? So when we look at our children that we have, you might see them and say, oh, this one is going to be this is going to be that, without any background, without any foundation, without any information. Is not good at all. It's not helpful, and you won't be able to support and nurture the child that you have with you. So the prepared adults, this we're talking about what the support that children need, the support that plants need, the support that seeds needs to grow. Now the next thing, which is the fifth why, I believe we've done 4. We've done who, when, where, and what. So now we're going to be looking at why. So for the why, I'll say the style of the seed, right? Is it meant to be for food? Is it meant to be for decoration? Is it meant to be for shade? That would determine, where you're going to plant it, how long you're going to plant it for, what you should even prepare for, right? Like I said, if you have a seed that maybe is just going to grow into a flower, you might choose to plant it indoors, right? Or plant it on the front porch. But if it is going to be, if it is something that is meant for the purpose of shade, then you need shade outside. You need it maybe in a particular part of your house where the sun normally rises, or where you normally relax in the evening or in the afternoons. So knowing why the purpose of that plant, knowing the purpose of the seed that you have been given as a gift would help you a lot to nurture that seed. Again, taking it back to the children, let's say one of the questions you can ask is, why is this child here? Why have I received this child as a gift from God? What is the purpose that is indicated or evident from your observation of the child? Sometimes we observe a child, of course it's not just one of observation, but we observe a child and we say, oh, this child is a leader. Some of the qualities that tend to make children to be strong-willed, or so agile, or so so determined, and all those things, you might say, oh, this child is meant to be a leader. But and truly, the truth is that every child is born a leader in a particular thing. you know Leadership is not always about ruling and governing everybody and telling them what to do. Leadership means excelling in that thing that you are good at, because you have been nurtured. That seed has been nurtured in you, that talent has been nurtured in you, and you can be a superstar in it. There are so many things you can be a superstar in. There are so many things you can lead in. We have some chefs, they are cooking their own, and it's like, it's not food that you normally cook in the kitchen. Yes, it's just food, or it's food, but there are some people that can cook that food in a better way, in a more creative way, because they have that talent, because of how it has been nurtured, because it has been encouraged, right? So every child is born a leader. It's for us to now discover which area, what aspect, what they are meant to actually lead in, right? So leadership goes beyond just political, the common ones that we know when we think about leadership. So when you ask yourself, why is the child here? Just like the plant, is this plant a vegetable or a fruit? Is it shade? Is it for blocking sunlight, or whatever it is, right? You ask your child, what is the purpose of the child that you have? Why are they here? Why have they been given to me as a gift? Sometimes, it's even to teach yourself some things about yourself that you didn't know, right? But in the whole process, knowing why they are here and discovering this every day, because you will not know the full plan at once. But from observing them, you will see that you can begin to detect what they need, why they are here, and how to support them. Now, knowing the why of a child, if you make observations about children, you find out that sometimes you may notice some changes in them, and you start wishing that you were keeping record before, so that you can see when exactly that change took place. Like, I know, I've been documenting with my observation journal, which we use in the Montessori medication program. We have a 12 months journal that you use throughout the program. But even if you have a notebook for a start, and you're writing down some things, and maybe you realize that, oh, they just started getting moody, or you just notice that they've been moody of late, but you don't even remember when did that moodiness start. What could have changed around the period when it started? Or maybe you notice that they've been showing interest in one particular thing or the other, and you can't remember what it was that started that interest, because you were not documenting, because you were not taking notes, you were not observing. And it's hard for you to now grow that thing that you saw, because you don't even have the basic information about it. So that's why observing our children every day, making sure that you have like just one or two notes, even no matter how small it is. There's a saying or a quote that the faintest pen is better than the sharpest mind. Just writing down, even with a pencil, like, this person did this today, or this thing surprised you today, or this one happened today. Even a line, it makes a difference compared to not writing anything at all about your children. It's almost like a mini diary. I don't think I have one beside me here, but I can share that with us later. But basically, the observation journal, the way it works is, you take notes. So during our program, of course, you take note of the subject of the month, which might be culture and science, or zoology, or botany, or even history, whatever it is that we are doing. Things like mathematics, you can say, okay, today, this month, I'll focus on this. But today, the activity I saw my child doing was maybe trying to combine this particular puzzle, and he or she was combining it from the top, or doing it like this, or doing it like that. Or today, my child said this or said that. My children are always cracking some funny jokes, right? Sometimes even taking note of those kind of jokes, or just you just suddenly realize that, oh, this child is always cracking jokes. They're actually quite funny. But then you don't even remember when they started cracking the jokes, right? When was the first time they cracked a joke that you can remember? It's not only, most of the time we are so focused on, oh, milestones, 0 to 6 months. Are they standing? Are they sitting? Are they jumping? And then when I say those major ones pass, we forget. But really, there are so many milestones every single day happening with these children, especially from the age of 0 to 6. So you want to make sure you're keeping track, you want to make sure you're documenting. And if you're signed up for our program, you want to make sure also for the 12 months, you're keeping track of how they are responding to different subject areas. When you teach them something, how do they respond? Sometimes you teach them one thing and they'll turn it around. I think the other day I was trying to do some activity on numbers with my daughter, and we're using a whiteboard. I think I shared it with those that were in the program. So I had written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I think she was trying to trace it, but it turned from tracing. She started drawing a fish. She started drawing fish and said the fish was in water. Of course, I'm not going to start telling her, no, look at the numbers now. I said, let me look at the fish that she's drawing, right? And then, okay, I saw that there was that interest in drawing and painting. I gave her a drawing and painting activity, problem solved. Later, we'll go back to the numbers. Or maybe I can now give her fish to count, right? If I still want to, if I still feel like, okay, this is a sensitive period for numbers, maybe she's not interested right now, but she wants to draw fish. She wants to draw something that is swimming. Okay, draw 5 fish, draw 5 fishes or whatever it is, right? So you go from where they are to where you want them to be, or where you think is important for them to be. Just make sure it's not about what you want, but what they need. That is very, very, very key. That's very key. Thank you very much. I'm glad you're enjoying the seed analogy. I was really enjoying it too, and I said, I have to share it with all of you because this is very, very. It's just amazing, really, and important for us to know that. So, knowing the purpose of the child, I think that's the last W, and we're going to look at the H. So H is how. Now, how? Let's look for a seed. You're going to see how do you achieve all these things with the seeds that you have been given as a gift. You got these seeds in the store. You didn't know what kind of seeds they were, and you're going to ask yourself, how do you go about learning the why, the what, the blah blah blah. And one of the things is to seek. To get all the information you can get. Sometimes I ask when I'm buying a seed or a plant in a store, I ask them, oh, please, where can I plant this? Sometimes there'll be information on to the plant. Sometimes they'll tell me, like the other time I had a full conversation with the lady at the checkout counter, explaining to me that, oh, she had this one in her house, she planted it like this. I said, oh, I was taking notes because I didn't want my aloe vera example to be repeated again. Or sometimes in the farm, right? Talking with the farmers, you talk with the people that know those seeds, who have worked with them, right? People who are, so that's why a mentor comes in, right? Of course. So for me now, I'm your Montessori mentor, Montessori coach. I've done the training for 0 to 3-year-old and 3 to 6-year-old. So there's so much that I've learned about children within a short period of time. But the good thing, being able to practice with my kids and even helping other parents has been so helpful. So that's why I feel like every parent really needs this. To now, you want to now start asking, oh, what does my child need at this age? What does my child need at that age? How can I support them? My child is struggling with this or that, right? You're not going to start looking for an extra lesson teacher for a child who is 0 to 6. No, you don't need that. And you're not going to start putting them on the screen and saying, this is an educative program. No, there is no, to be honest, there is no educative program on the screen that is more important than the one that you're going to provide for your child one-on-one. Like even when I do some of the videos, because we launched our the Igbo alphabet book recently, and I was teaching the pronunciation of some of the alphabets. Okay, those are the ones shown here. And I'm saying, parents, you learn this and then teach your child. Don't go and put them in front of the screen and say, oh, A, B, Ch, D. That is not, they can listen to the audio, that's fine. But even you, however little you're able to pick it and then show them or teach them, is like 10 times more important and more beneficial than that screen. So please let us stop this whole educative program, academic program for 0 to 6-year-olds. If it's extra, just admit to yourself, okay, this is just extra. I'm doing it for a few minutes, but don't go and say they are learning a lot. No, they are not learning a lot, right? A lot of audio there was another song that we saw, someone had shared with me, which was really nice. And they were doing parts of the body in Igbo. It's a very, I thought I was going to put the link. I forgot to put it. So, but they were basically singing head, isi, eyes, anya, and we've been playing it nonstop for the past 4 days. They are touching their eyes, their head. They're not watching the video, right? So, knowing that we were just dancing around the table, right, and just pointing head, isi, I'm just dancing and shaking eyes, anya, no, but someone might say, oh, they need to see the video. They need to see them touching head and eye. No, watching me touch my own head. In fact, me watching the video, if I didn't know what parts of the body were in Igbo, and I watched the video and then showed them, it is more beneficial than putting them in front of the screen, right? So you need to know how to go about these things, right? So with the seed, we're talking about talking with the farmers, talking with the people that gave you the seeds. Sometimes you just have to ask. They may have given it to you as a package and you just say, oh, I'm a superstar, I'm going to plant it, I know what to do. But asking a simple question, please, so which seed is this, right? They might say, oh, it's a surprise, go and find out. Or they might tell you, this is this is that. And it makes your work easier. So that is where the benefit of knowledge, right, comes in. The benefit of mentorship, benefit of coaching comes in. Um, and there was a verse that came to my attention when I was preparing for this, and it's from Proverbs 4 verse 7. So that's from the Bible. Of course, you can always Google this even if you don't have a Bible. If you're not a Christian, just Google it because it's a very valuable passage as I saw it, and I'm going to read it out. So Proverbs 4:7 says, the most important thing you can do is to get wisdom. Now we're talking about how, right? We've talked about the five W's and one H. And we said seeking information from the farmers, the sellers about the seed is very key. Now for the child, Proverbs 4:7 says, the most important thing you can do is to get wisdom. Whatever else you get insight. So understanding. It's not just about knowledge. It's not just about short answers here and there. How do I fix this? How do I fix that? No, you need a full package for the child. And then Proverbs 4:13 also went on to say, then always remember what you have learned. Your education is your life. Guard it well. It was just I read this one. I was really amazed because really, like, what is this? Always remember what you have learned. Sometimes we are learning. Like now we may have watched this video, we might have paid attention, but we didn't take any notes. You have to come back and watch it again. So make sure, even when you're doing all these videos, you're taking notes, document what you're learning. And again, this takes us back to the observation part, right? You want to make sure that as you're observing, you're taking notes, and then you're planning what to do with what you have observed. So get wisdom, get understanding, and don't play with your education. Don't play with your child's education because their education is their life, right? And education is not just about teaching English and maths or science or whatever. It goes beyond that. I would say, I think there was something I wrote down here. Um, every child is born a leader and a genius. Like we talked about it. Leadership is in a particular area. It doesn't mean they have to be leaders in everything. It doesn't mean they have whatever it is. But education is the cultivation of a child, right? To be able to bear the fruits that they already have planted within. And then I added something here that parents are the first educators, and basically parents are farmers, parents are planters, right? So we parents that are listening, that are watching, you have the power in your hands. You have the advantage even more than any teacher in the school because you know the child that you have. You have the opportunity to know them better than the teachers. Yes, the teachers will try their best. No, just for all respect to teachers, right? They are trying their best. But I'm yet to see a teacher that has just maybe 5 children that they are teaching or 4 children that are teaching. It's usually a classroom, right? So they can only know so much compared to you. Like I tell the parents in the Montessori home education program, no matter how many children you have, it's probably not as many as a classroom. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you have up to 20 children, okay, then we are getting there. Then you might now be like a classroom teacher. But if you have a couple of children here, knowing them, understanding them, and then using that knowledge to their advantage to teach them, to know what they like, and then use it to teach them what they don't like, is something that you can't even take for granted. So I think we're going to wrap it up here. Let me know what if you have any questions, or if you have something you want to take action on today, just share it in the chat. Remember to forward this to somebody. They can watch a replay of this session using the same link. And if you haven't signed up for our Montessori medication program, you still have time to do it. Of course, it's full price now, but um, the good thing, I'll just let you in on a little secret. If you haven't signed up yet, because the link is yet to be updated. So if you make payment before the link is updated by the end of the day, you can still catch the early bird price. Otherwise, we still have the good thing is that we have payment plans, right? So you're able to pay a bit for a couple of months to finish up the payment. I'll share the updated flyer with us very soon. Invite somebody, let them know. Don't miss this opportunity. This is once a year from January to December. And make sure you have just signed up for the Montessori Home Education Program. For those that have already done that, thank you and kudos to you. You're definitely on the right track, on the right direction. So that is where we wrap it up for today. If you have questions, let me know. Or otherwise, I'll see you all in the WhatsApp community. And thank you very much for your time and your attention. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. And enjoy the rest of your day. You're welcome, Fisayo. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. Thank you, Dr. Joy. Thank you, Koso. Thank you. Thank you. Please let us take action. Motivation is also a trap. As I think it was when, parenting coach Wendy Ologe mentioned that recently in a video that I saw. Motivation is a trap. So don't just get motivated, don't get inspired. Take action, and carry your crew along. Okay, the WhatsApp community. So in the video description, I have put a link. Just click on the video description. You will see a link to join the free WhatsApp community that we have, where we normally discuss further on the YouTube videos that we share every week. I'll equally put the link to invite others if you want to. And then for the Montessori Home Education Program, our website link is in the video description as well. Once the session ends, you can equally check it out. If you have any questions, let us know. Thank you very much for your time. I'll just put the video. Okay, so I put a link to the website there. I'm going to put the WhatsApp group link as well in the chat, so you can just copy it from there. So that we will be done. Copy the link. Oh yes, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends and family. So the chat section, I have put in the link to the WhatsApp community. I've also put in the link to our website. If you know someone that is yet to sign up, please let them know. And I'll see you all again next week. Take care, everyone, and bye-bye.